Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 16th of September, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So just before we jump into the news for today, I just wanted to quickly shout out, I posted this in the Discord channel, but I just wanted to quickly shout out that the Daily Gwei channel is growing in a bear market, which is honestly just amazing to me. And the reason why it's amazing is because we all know in bear markets, most of the industry or most people that were in crypto during the bull market just disappear completely. It's like 95% of people are just gone, right? They got no more interest in crypto. They're doing other things. Maybe they'll come back in the future. Maybe they won't. But the refuel has been getting consistent viewership, and that viewership has actually been going up over the past few weeks, and even I think the past couple of months on YouTube and on the podcast as well. So for context here, on YouTube, I think we average around 2.5K to 3K views per video, just depending on I think the topics, some topics are obviously more popular than others, and on the podcast it's around 1,000 listens. So you could say that we have 3.5K to 4K people basically tuning in every day to listening to me go on about Ethereum in a bear market, in the depths of the bear market. I think that's incredible. You guys know I don't do clickbait. I don't try to promote the channel in any real way. I don't monetize the channel, nothing like that. I literally just put the videos out there, and the community has grown completely organically. I mean, obviously I had a springboard with my existing Twitter following, but from there it's just seemed to grow very organically and very nicely. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of you for supporting the channel, and any newcomers, maybe you've just started watching over the last few weeks or couple of months. Welcome. I hope you stick around for a while. But it really just amazed me just looking at that, being like, wow, we're in the depths of a bear market and there's still this many people interested in me talking about Ethereum every day. I don't talk about the price, right? I don't do TA. I mean, obviously I talk about the price sometimes, but I don't do TA or anything like that. As I said, I don't do clickbait. I don't promise anything. Maybe I dish up some hopium from time to time with my bullish rants, but generally I talk about the tech. So that's really inspiring to me, that there's enough people that are interested in the tech that are willing to listen to me go on about it for half an hour every day. But yeah, on that note, going to get into the news. So I'm going to try not to go on a rant here. But over the last 24-ish hours since we obviously merged, there's been a lot of attacks from the Bitcoin maximalist camp. And I'm sure you've seen them. To me, it's just pure cope. It's pure jealousy that we're able to do this in Ethereum. And they're making up all sorts of crap. And of course, they're back to their old tactics of saying that ETH is a security. And there were some comments, I think, today from Gary Gensler, the SEC head, basically saying that staked products on exchanges could be labeled as security as well. So if you're staking your ETH on a centralized exchange, it could be labeled as a security, or that product could be labeled as a security. Now, I said I don't want to go on a rant, but I will for just a little bit here. I don't really want to talk about whether ETH is a security or not. Like, obviously, I believe it's not a security, but I'm not going to go into the I guess, like, points around that. What I want to just say is the community, like, in Bitcoin has gotten to the point where they're simping for nation states to label their competitors. Like, make no mistake, Ethereum is a competitor to Bitcoin, right? They're simping for nation states to ban their competitors or label it as a security to essentially cripple it instead of just competing in the free market. This entire industry was built on Bitcoin, obviously, because it came first. It was built on principles of resisting centralized control. We are trying to build decentralized systems. So for the original flag bearers of that movement, the Bitcoin community, to devolve into whatever they are today, where they're actually simping for nation states and simping for governments and crying out to them to ban their competition or cripple their competition, is absolutely disgusting to me. Like, I'll just straight out say, it is one of the worst things I've seen in this industry. Like, yes, we have plenty of scams and stuff like that, and obviously those need to be called out too, but this goes beyond that. This attacks the very core of what crypto is supposed to be and what we're building when it comes to decentralization, free market, all that sorts of stuff. Like, you can't have a free market if you're crippling your competition with government entities, right? You can't have decentralization, or you can't say that you like decentralization if you're appealing to the most centralized actors in the world, nation states and governments, to cripple your competition. So I just thought that was, like, obviously this isn't anything new. It's been happening for a little while here, but it just makes me even more bearish on the Bitcoin community. Like, how can they say or do this with a straight face is what I always struggle with. But anyway, I'm not going to rant any longer about that. I do suggest going and giving this blog post from Coin Center a read about this topic. It basically discusses how the merge doesn't change how Ethereum is regulated at all. It doesn't mean that ETH is a security or anything like that. So go give this thread a read. This blog post a read. I'll link it in the description below for you. But I'm sure you all feel very similarly to me about just the rhetoric that we've seen come out of the Bitcoin community, and it's not just around ETH as a security or whatever they're kind of conjuring up on that topic. It's also just everything in general. They're literally just spreading bullshit at this point. They're not even saying anything that's factual. They're not pointing out anything that's based in reality. They're just making up straight lies in order to discredit Ethereum, which makes me kind of bullish at the same time because, as I said before, you can say whatever you want. It doesn't have to match with reality, but reality matches with reality. It comes knocking at the end of the day. Like, how many people for so many years said that Ethereum would never ship to proof of stake? Well, it happened. It happened so smoothly. We are literally a proof of stake network right now. And immediately they've gone and pivoted and moved the goalpost and changed to something else to focus on. But the problem is that every time their actual criticisms, right, which they haven't actually come up with, haven't actually had for a little while, but every time their actual criticisms get debunked, they move on to more and more extreme things, and they're at the point now where they're literally just making stuff up because there's just nothing left for them to attack that's actually based in reality, so they make up all this stuff in order to discredit Ethereum. All in all, I don't actually think it goes that beyond the, I guess, like, crypto community itself. I feel like the way we get mass adoption and things like that, like, those people aren't going to know about Bitcoin maximalist and Ethereum maximalist, whatever that means, and all these sorts of stuff. This is very much like just insider community stuff, but obviously it's worth talking about on the refuel, since the refuel is for people that are inside the crypto community. But generally, yeah, I don't think it really matters. As I said, reality is what matters, and the reality is Ethereum is a proof of stake network. We merged. So speaking of the merge, that's a nice segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about here. All right, so first up here, we have a really great thread from Patrick McCrory all about proof of stake Ethereum. Now, this is talking about the technical, details of proof of stake Ethereum. Things like what makes it Sybil resistant, what is the beacon chain, what is BLS signatures, what is an epoch, what is a slot, what is a committee. So if you're interested in all of that sorts of stuff and interested in diving deep into how proof of stake Ethereum actually works under the hood, this is a great thread to read. I honestly read through it myself and was like, oh wow, okay, yep, no, I forgot about that one. Obviously, it's hard to keep everything in your head for something as complex as proof of stake Ethereum, but Patrick does an absolutely amazing job explaining it in his thread here. So I highly recommend going and giving this a read because, I mean, it's not that long, and he links to a bunch of resources that you can also go to learn more as well. And I know people are obviously more curious about proof of stake Ethereum generally, since we just had the merge. We want to know how it works. What are the trade-offs that we made by switching from proof of work to proof of stake. So give this thread a read. I'll link it in the YouTube description. All right, so transmissions here, or T11s from Paradigm, pointed out that Ethereum proof of stake is on track to use less than 4% of the energy that PayPal uses each year. That's a crazy statistic, and you can actually see it comes from this chart here that was posted on the ethereum.org website, which was, referencing Digiconomist. So you can see YouTube, gold mining, BTC Power, ETH Power, Netflix, gaming, all use like a ton of energy, right? And then PayPal doesn't use that much energy, but it still uses more than Ethereum proof of stake, much more, which I think is absolutely crazy. And it's pretty cool when you compare things like this. But it also speaks to the wider energy argument here, because you'll often see people argue that Bitcoin proof of work and Ethereum proof of work was incredibly wasteful. It was using so much electricity, but you'll never see someone say that about YouTube, right? Or really about gold mining. I think the same thing should be said about gold mining, because gold does have practical applications, but most of it is just speculative. It's not actually based on its use within jewelry and things like that. And then you have YouTube, which is at a massive amount. Like it's more than Bitcoin proof of work. So I think there's two things to this. The first thing is that obviously YouTube provides more value to the world right now, vastly more value to the world right now than Bitcoin does. I mean, I don't think Bitcoiners would agree with that, but I think it's pretty objective. I would say YouTube provides more value than even Ethereum does right now. All right, they're different products, sure. Like, they're not comparable in that way. But if you're talking about energy use as a proxy for value, well, the value that YouTube delivers is, in my mind, vastly more currently than Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think that it wouldn't really make sense to compare the energy usage here from that point of view. Again, they're different products, but you know what I'm saying. Plus, with proof of work systems, they keep growing forever, basically. Like if the price of Bitcoin keeps going up, then the more miners will join the network, the hash rate will go up, obviously, but also the energy usage. So if Bitcoin goes to whatever, like $1 million per BTC, right? The energy usage, it's not like a linear kind of thing. It's not like we're going to get the same match depending on the price, but it's just going to keep going up. Like the electricity use would be enormous. Now, how much value would Bitcoin be bringing to the world at $1 million per coin versus what it is today? I mean, I personally don't think it would actually change that much because like Bitcoin in general, I don't think has much of a future from a technology standpoint. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, would it be delivering the value that it needs to be delivering to justify that energy use? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. And I don't know if we'll ever get an answer to that. But then this whole argument is very subjective. This is just me giving my view. You probably have different views. But this is also why I don't really consider the energy reduction something that I'm most excited about when it comes to, our change from proof of work to proof of stake. What I'm most excited about, I mean, I like that we're using less energy, but that's just a byproduct of that better bang for your buck security that I've talked about. I think that proof of stake is a better system, and the massive bonus that we have is that we have to pay way less in issuance to secure the system, and we have to and we use way less energy as a consequence of that as well. And there's a lot of debates around proof of stake versus proof of work and trade-offs and things like that, but I think the trade-offs that we made are worth it in order to get that superpower that we have of that surgical punishment that I've talked about before for bad actors. I think that's worth any trade-offs that we made, to be honest. Like, that's such a strong thing that hopefully we will never have to use, but the fact that we have an option to use it is incredibly powerful. And also, I was talking about social slashing there, but also we have in-protocol slashing too, which I think is incredibly powerful as well. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see ETH under a proof of stake regime using way less energy than it was, and using less energy than most things in the world. I mean, look at this. Like, should we start calling out gamers? Because forever they've been calling out mining as wasteful. Should we start calling out them as wasteful? Look how much more energy they're using than us. They're using 34 terawatt hours a year, whereas Ethereum proof of stake is using 0.01 terawatt hours per year, which is, I guess, if I'm doing my math correctly, it is a 3,000 or 3,400 times more, right? Should we be going at gamers? No, I don't think so, right? But it just goes to show like how varied and how nuanced the energy use discussion is. So yeah, but you can make up your own conclusions and make up your own mind about these sorts of things. Don't just listen to me, and don't just listen to what I think about this. But at the same time, I think that it's just great that we're getting much better bang for your buck security with Ethereum. We have to pay way less in issuance, and we also use way less energy. So very cool to see that. All right, so Saigar here, who works as an Azuki dev, put together a, Twitter thread about the new terms and tooling, all got to do with proof of stake here. So, and he says, these concepts will help you navigate this new era of the Ethereum network. This is really cool. It basically goes through a lot of terms that I've mentioned on the Refuel, such as validator and slot and epoch, attestation, slashing, all that sorts of stuff. This is a good kind of sister thread to Patrick's thread here. So you should actually go read this after you read Patrick's thread. So yeah, read Patrick's thread first, all about the merge and proof of stake Ethereum, and then read Saigar's thread to go through what the terms actually mean and everything around that. I actually think that those two threads there will get you very up to speed with proof of stake Ethereum if you still feel like you're behind. So I'll link that in the YouTube description. You can go give that a read as well. All right, so this is interesting. There's been a lot of criticism of Ethereum proof of stake for a while around, I guess, centralization of stake. And I've talked about this a lot on the Refuel, so I won't rehash all of my arguments. But one thing I didn't know was that 90% of Lido validators are actually run by operators not based in the US. I didn't know it was that high. I knew there was obviously validators outside of the US, but I didn't know it was 90%, which means only 10% are in the US. That's crazy. And if you want to go even further and say, okay, well, which ones are based in the in areas that are, I guess, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe allied with the US, or more inclined to do the US's bidding, so to speak. Well, you have to kind of pull them out of this list, and you can check out this list for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description. But I think it's just really amazing that it is actually like this, because I mean, I know Lido is a centralized staking provider. I know that sometimes I get a flack from people in other communities about maybe not defending Lido, but talking positively about them. But I do believe that if not for Lido, the stake centralization issue would actually be bigger. Because what would have happened is that instead of people staking with Lido, which distributes the stake to these 28 different entities, I believe, people would have just staked with centralized exchanges, and that would have been a worse situation than what we're in today. So I applaud Lido for that. Now, obviously, Lido has its issues. It's still centralized. It remains to be seen if they can decentralize. And you're still staking with centralized providers anyway through Lido. That doesn't change that fact at all. Like, personally, I would rather go with a decentralized provider such as Rocket Pool, but a lot of people have chosen Lido, and Lido was first to market. They beat Rocket Pool to market, so they got a big market share, right? But in saying that, I've talked about this a lot, about the centralization of stake. My main points still apply here. To decentralize the stake further, to distribute the stake further, we need more competition and we need withdrawals to be enabled, right? Those are the two big things on the technical side. On the social side, obviously, we need people to keep pushing people to use decentralized services. We need to keep sending that signal. We need to keep defending Ethereum's ideals of decentralization and our principles around it. And we also need to keep making staking, solo staking easier, and staking with tools, with decentralized pools like Rocket Pool easier, which is all happening in the background, right? And then there are actually other things on the technical side as well that will help with this. Maybe they don't help with the, I guess, distribution of stake, but they help with the decentralization of stake. And that is DVT, which I've talked about before, distributed validated technology, and PBS, which I've also talked about before, proposer-builder separation. These things help with decentralizing out staking, but they don't really help with distributing stake. That it definitely falls on, I think, more competition in terms of staking providers, especially on the decentralized side of things, and also on the and also with the withdrawals being enabled. Now, on top of all of that, there is something that could be done as well on the Ethereum base layer, which is not going to happen anytime soon, but it's reducing the, I guess, like required stake to solo stake. Right now, obviously, it's 32 ETH. That's inaccessible for most people, but I've talked about this before where I've said that it doesn't really matter how low we get it. Like, if staking is really, really popular and Ethereum is really popular, like, the ETH price is just going to go up, and then it's just going to offset whatever reductions we can do. For example, if we were to reduce from 32 ETH to 16 ETH today, to offset that and to put us back to where we were, all that would be required is for ETH to double in price. Like, right, if I'm doing my math correctly, of course I am. It's an easy math thing there, right? It would be in the same dollar value if we did it like that. But in saying that, by reducing that, we also help solutions like Rocket Pool that have to adhere by this, right? And when we just make it overall easier for people to build tools and overall cheaper, but it's kind of like hard to reason about because of the fact that we don't know what the price of ETH will be, but we all assume that ETH is going to be more valuable as time goes on. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But definitely we should work on every other solution as well on top of that. And speaking of PBS, proposer-builder separation, there's a great tweet thread here from Haim, who I've talked about I think a couple of times on the refuel now, about what exactly is proposer-builder separation. Highly recommend giving this a read because this is something that a lot of people are talking about. It's definitely something that is trying to be prioritized on the roadmap. I don't know when it's going to come, but it's definitely going to come sooner than a lot of other things because it is something that is definitely needed. So you should definitely get familiar with it. And I'll link it in the this thread in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so there was an all-core devs call yesterday. This was the first post-merge call, which was very, very eventful. Obviously, you can read Tim Byko's thread for a full recap of what happened. But obviously, it was talking about the merge, how smooth it went, right? What minor issues there were. I believe Besu saw some some minor issues with Aragon doing so as well. But other than that, I don't think that anything else really went wrong. And Peter from the Geth team basically said, the whole thing was surprisingly boring, no issues found, and things were stable enough for the team to spend the merge following the memes across Twitter and Reddit. That's awesome, isn't it? I mean, as I said, the best outcome was the most boring one, and we got that, which was amazing. And actually, if I quickly want to go to the Beacon Chain website, I can bring up the proposer, the participation rate right now. So it's actually climbing back up very, very nicely. It was at 97.5%, I think, yesterday. Now it's at 98.7%. So we can expect that to get back above 99% relatively soon as well. But I mean, it's negligible at that point. Like the network is pretty much at full health, which is amazing to see there. So you can go give this thread a read from Tim Byko for a full recap of the latest all core devs call. But awesome to see that they did a call so soon after the merge. I mean, it makes sense. It was their regularly scheduled call, I believe. They always happen on Thursdays now, but cool. Every second Thursday, I should say. But cool to see that. And on the core devs front as well, I spotted a little alpha leak in a reply today. So you got Julio here with a tweet. Julio works on Aragon, saying, I slept 13 hours post-merge night. Now I feel bamboozled and have a slight headache, but I will go hack at ETH Berlin. And then Marius from the Geth team said, I started the day with a mate and pretzels on the train to ETH Berlin now. Plan to hack on EIP 4844, so reading up on it right now. So EIP 4844, obviously I've talked about it a lot. That's proto-dank sharding right there. There is a website. You can go to EIP44.com. I believe. Let me just quickly verify that. EIP4844.com to check out all of that. But that's a little alpha leak. They're already working on the next things. I did say that the core devs want to take a break for 4 or 5 weeks, but honestly, I think that the momentum that we have from the merge and the excitement that we have from the merge, I don't know if they'll be able to take a proper break. I think they're going to be working on things in the background, that's for sure. So awesome to see that. And Julia replied by saying, he plans to hack on Verkle tree transitions, which is part of the Verge, part of the roadmap. So things are still happening, guys. I mean, Shanghai is that next upgrade. I don't know if we'll get both Beacon Chain withdrawals and EIP 4844 in that, along with a bunch of other things. But, it just depends what's ready and what's ready to go in the upgrade. But I think Beacon Chain withdrawals are the highest priority right now. And I think that the core devs understand that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the momentum seems very, very strong right now. So let's keep that going. That's for sure. All right, so just a shout out here. Josh Davis gave us a reminder that the Ethereum Protocol Fellowship applications are closing soon, and he's done a thread on why you should apply. So I remember I shouted this out, I think a few weeks ago when it was first posted, and here's the blog post. Yeah, on September 1st. So it was a couple of weeks ago now. I think, when do applications actually close? They go till October? Oh, wait, no. Applications accepted through September 16th. Oh, okay, so they close today. So you definitely want to go apply to it today if you're interested here. But Josh's thread basically gives reasons as to why you should apply. So you can go give this thread a read as well. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so Aztec has an update out where they've said, we've been hard at work making general purpose zero-knowledge transactions accessible. In this thread, we want to describe a fundamental technology that helps us get there, proof compression. So you may have heard me talking about proof compression before. It's basically a way to compress the proofs that need to be posted to layer 1 Ethereum, and by compressing them, they're cheaper to post. So obviously the fees are cheaper there. Why would you do this? Well, because the cost can be passed on to users. And why is it important for ZK rollups especially to do this? Because the proof is expensive on a ZK rollup. It's more expensive than an optimistic rollup. So it's definitely something that is very, important for them to do. So if you want to learn about proof compression and how Aztec is tackling it, you can give the blog post and the thread a read, which I'll link in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, last up here, I just have a quick shout out that the JPEG / Protocol Guild / Stateful Works fundraiser for ETH Core Devs continues, the new home of the heart thing that I've talked about. So you can definitely go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below to see what NFTs that you want to snag there, including that panda meme NFT that I spoke about on the refuel over the past, I guess, few days as well. But on that note, there is one last thing I wanted to talk about to close us out today. Now, This is, I said at the start that I don't talk about price that much, but I want to just briefly mention this because I like talking about things that I see people in the Discord talking about a lot, because obviously people in the Discord watch the refuel. So I want to talk about the price action post merge. We obviously dumped, right? I don't think we dumped that much, like, relatively, but we did. And I have no idea why. I don't know if it really was a sell the news event. I don't know if it's just traders hedging their bets or closing their shorts after the closing their positions, their spot positions after the ETH proof of work fork airdrop or whatever. I don't know the reasons behind it. I don't really care about short-term movements, but I know a lot of you guys pay attention to it. I said for a long time that just because the merge drops issuance to technically zero for 6 to 12 months in terms of new issuance hitting the market, and obviously it drops issuance by about 85% even when it is hitting the market, and obviously we have the burn to offset a lot of that issuance, doesn't mean that ETH is just going to pump straight away. Like, I think there are a lot of people out there who believed, for some reason, that immediately post-merge ETH was going to pump, and that was never going to be the case. I always said it was never going to be the case, but when you start looking at weeks, months, years, like, that's where it starts getting priced in. That's where that massive issuance reduction starts getting priced in. Because over the past 48 hours, we have avoided paying $40 million worth of ETH to miners, right? That's a lot just for those 2 days. But it's not like miners were getting that $40 million in and dumping it straight away, right? They weren't dumping their ETH straight away because they didn't need to. And maybe they only have energy bills that they need to pay once a month. And maybe they just wait till the end of the month to sell their ETH. Or maybe they sell slowly through an OTC desk over the course of a month, 2 months, 3 months. I'm not aware of how miners were selling their ETH, and I don't think you'd be able to get a very accurate picture about that. But what we are aware about, and what's completely factual, is that they were forced to sell most of their ETH to cover their costs, because those costs are unavoidable. So over time, this will compound. This will actually start being reflected in the price. But the demand side is just as important as the supply side. So technically, you could say that over the last 48 hours, there was more than $40 million of kind of like sell pressure to get us down. There was like probably a lot more than that, because of the fact of the matter is people wanted to sell in order to, I guess, like, maybe de-risk, or maybe they think their macro environment's going to get worse, and whatever, for whatever reason, right? People sold. There was more sellers than buyers. That's what the market is at the end of the day. Right, just sellers and buyers. So if you look in the last 48 hours, you could say, oh my God, such a bearish ETH price action. It's so bearish, like the merge did nothing. Or I guess I should say the last 24 hours. Or you could look at the next week, the next month, the next year, right, when that happens, and say, okay, well, it actually played out, right? If it does play out, if the ETH price does go up, well, okay, the issuance reduction actually meant something, which I still obviously believe it does. Like, there's no way in hell it doesn't, but there's always the demand side factor of it that you have to factor in. And in this environment, in a deep bear market where there's a lot of uncertainty, the demand's just not there right now. But I've said lots of times on the refuel, when the demand comes back, right, and when the demand comes back in a big way during a bull market, that's when these effects will be felt. So we build in a bear market, we get the spoils of that in a bull market. The same was true for the last one. DeFi was not built in a bull market. DeFi was built in a bear market. In 2019, a lot of those DeFi primitives went live. And then in 2020 with DeFi Summer, that was still kind of a bear market, because we weren't even at all-time high for BTC and ETH. I think 2021 was the proper bull market, but 2020 was like a very insider crypto thing where not a lot of new money was coming in. It was the existing money kind of slushing around. But in 2021 was when a shit ton of new money came in, right? So the next time that happens, all the stuff that we're building during the bear market, that's when we get to collect the fruits for. And that's always the way it's been. And the fact that we merged in a bear market, to me, is amazing. Like, I love that. I love that there wasn't actually that much volatility around this. Could you imagine if we were doing the merge in the bull market, how much speculation there would have been on it, and kind of like how crazy the volatility would have been, and how unsustainable it would have been? It wouldn't have been great, right? But now we've done it in a bear market. We'll keep building. Maybe we even ship like with beacon chain withdrawals and proto-dank sharding, and some other good stuff before we get another bull market. Who knows? Like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but the point is that we're shipping. We're shipping things, we're building things, and it's all gonna pay off in the long run. Because obviously we all truly believe in Ethereum and Ethereum's mission and everything around Ethereum. So don't fret, don't care. As I always say, the short-term price movement is complete noise. It doesn't really mean anything. If you are buying, then buy. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do with your own positions. I'm definitely buying some ETH around here, just personally, but that's not investment advice to tell you to go buy ETH. You have to do what's best for you. But yeah, I think that's going to be it. I don't want to talk too much about the markets. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all next week. Thanks everyone.